All right, so live from Washington, D.C. today, we have got another episode of Unseen Libby. You know, JoAnne, it's a pleasure to have you here with me. It's always an amazing thing, you know, when I come to a. All right, so see what I'm talking about from Washington,
Yeah,
D.C.
I can't see you,
today.
Jason. Are you
We have got
there?
another
I can hear
episode
you, but I
of
can't see you.
Unseen Libby. You know, JoAnne, it's a pleasure to have you here with me.
I'm so sorry, JoAnne. Hang on a second.
It's always
No
an
problem.
amazing
No problem.
thing.
Take your time. Jimmy's
you know,
running
when I
late
come to
anyway.
all right, so okay, there we go. See, it's a different day, different studio, and I'm not sure why.
Do you see what I see? I see a sand dune.
Yeah, I'm trying to get everything going here, and the sand
Don't
dune.
worry. Take your time. It's okay.
We are live right now. Now we're going to be talking today, JoAnne, about, boy, this is really, the computer's going nuts over here. The thing that happens is, as I travel around to try to cover things like the 9/11, the lawyers for 9/11 inquiry, you know, I'm in a hotel now, so it's an impromptu studio setup, and I know that people are very used to extremely professional presentations, and sometimes it just takes a minute to get everything dialed in with the traveling around and all the goings on. Now, while we wait for Jimmy, hello, JoAnne, how are you?
I'm fine. I'm doing okay, Jason. How are you doing?
I'm well, and I know you can't see me, but what I wanted to do was I wanted to have it set up so that you could see the screen share, because we're going to be going through quite a few photographs that you've provided, and there are videos and things. So I wanted everyone to be. Oh, there's Jimmy. Hello, Jimmy. How are you?
Hi. Good.
Good to see you both. So I'm in Washington, D.C. today, and we just wanted to let everyone know that we're going to be doing our regular Patreon subscriber-only show in just a little while. That always starts at 7 p.m. Eastern. So we like to do these YouTube previews so that people can know to go and visit patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty and patreon.com/Crowdsource the Truth, where every week on Monday nights, you guys share with us your firsthand experiences from Libya. And today we're going to be talking about really what's one of the most shocking and really important lies that's been told to all of us, having to do with the people of Libya and how they felt about Muammar Gaddafi. You know, I remember as a little kid, Ronald Reagan saying Gaddafi was a terrible guy that we needed to kill.
Yeah. Well, that was all fabricated.
Yeah.
As far as the Libyans were concerned, Gaddafi was the person who gave them their country back, which he did.
Right.
You know, Libya, for all of its thousands of years history, never controlled their own country, never owned their own country. They were always occupied. The Ottoman Empire, the Roman Empire, you know, all of them, and Italy occupied Libya and controlled it, really. And so when they had their bloodless coup in 1969, when the 11 tribes came together and took back their country, they appointed Gaddafi as leader because he was very charismatic, he was young, he was highly educated, he spoke a number of languages, and they really did. They were starting from scratch on being their own leaders.
And then, as soon as he was appointed their leader, he kept the rank of colonel. He was never above that, never elevated himself. He immediately went to the United States and England and asked for assistance in establishing a democratic organization within Libya. And the U.S. and England told him the first thing he had to do was reinstall the despot king as the leader, and then they'd talk about it. And so instead of that happening, he went to the next best source of help, and that was Russia. So Russia stepped in to give him advice and whatever. And so that was a fatal flaw the U.S. made back then. And something we're going to tell you all that we have proof of is that Gaddafi was actually a favored pawn of the CIA.
Wow.
And back in the 70s and 80s, this is years after he was installed and everything, the CIA approached him and encouraged Gaddafi to start a uranium enrichment program in Libya. And the United States CIA supplied not only the yellow cake, but the technology and the equipment to the centrifuge and everything to enhance that yellow cake into weapons grade plutonium. And we know that because the head of the Atomic Energy Commission in Libya was a man named Dr. Nori Darogi. And he was recruited by the CIA when he was studying in university in the United States, got his doctorate in England.
Let me interrupt you just a second. That picture that you're showing, Jason, this one, that picture you showed first was all the cars
trying to get into Green Square.
Going to Green Square. There's 2 million people there. This is out of our hotel room window. These cars are going to support their government, July 1st, 2011.
And besides this 2 million people represents almost 1/3 of the entire population of Libya. On this same day, all over Libya, there were another 3 million Libyans in the squares and in the courthouses in all the smaller towns in support of their government. So you had more than 5 million Libyans out of 6.5 million that showed up to have a rally for their government and for Gaddafi.
You know, what's interesting, guys, it was just yesterday that we got the final results of the Robert Mueller Russiagate investigation, and now all these newspapers that were talking about how Donald Trump was about to be impeached and everything, they're just saying, hey, no collusion, no nothing. It's interesting. Do we think that people will be woken up to this concept of we're being lied to by the press, we're being lied to by people like Robert Mueller, or is it just more of the same?
I think what you did today, the conference you were at in Washington, D.C., was a giant leap where the attorneys are bringing lawsuit against the FBI for malfeasance or should be misprision of a felony, et cetera, because they had the proof in hand what happened on 9/11. No investigation was done. Mueller covered that up. And, you know, the architects and the engineers and the attorneys that have been working on this for over a dozen years, God bless them, because they have been putting the truth out forever. Nothing we were told about 9/11 was true.
Right.
And the biggest catastrophe that happened to the people in the United States, we gave up most of our liberties over that false flag operation. And bringing a lawsuit against the FBI, that's going to open the doors for a whole lot of other people, maybe us included, to bring forward a lawsuit about what really happened in Benghazi, because that investigation and Libya.
Yeah.
So they've ignored the proof, and God bless you for being there to cover that, because those guys have absolutely done a stalwart job. They have put it in a format that should bring the FBI to task. And so, you know, these kinds of things, when you have all these false flag operations in the lives, the people better wake up, because it's happening right here in the United States.
I think that people are waking up. You see the numbers in the news is you know, the media, that it's like 6% that believe the media now. Right. It's really falling away. You know, they don't have much of a following. Yeah. But what we're going to talk about today, Jason, is we're going to talk about what we witnessed and the videos we took of the people supporting their government, supporting their spiritual, what they call their spiritual leader, because he had stepped down from the government in Libya, Gaddafi. We're also going to talk about what NATO did to the Children's Center in Libya. We're going to talk about the missing children that were kidnapped out of different towns in Libya that just disappeared during the war. And we have a videotape of a press conference that was given by Khalid Qaim, the deputy foreign minister. So there's a lot of things we're going to talk about. We have a lot of proof and a lot of videos.
We've had folks ask us, did we do anything in that fact-finding commission? Well, you'll see proof positive that we were busy the whole time gathering information, documented it as best we could. And it was such a dramatic occurrence, and we were so shocked by the information that we were provided that we dug up and recorded, you know, that we hope the people get an idea of really how desperate the situation was and how the Libyan people never lost their faith. They knew they were going to overthrow this. They knew the truth, and their God was going to save them. And it just didn't happen.
The interesting thing was, you had maybe Gaddafi they're saying he had a 70% favorable following in Libya at the time that this war started. During the war, his favored amount went up to 90+%.
Wow.
So you see what happened, that NATO caused all the people in Libya to come together.
You
and
know,
of course,
sorry,
go ahead.
JoAnne. No, please continue.
Of course, what I was going to say was that in the treaty of 2006 that Gaddafi signed to remove the embargo that was placed illegally against Libya for 38 years or 40 years, however long it was, that required him to step down from power, which he did. And it also required him to give up half of his military and half of his weapons and all this other stuff. Then John McCain went over a year or two later and required him to give up another half. So they had reduced Libya down to no ability to protect themselves. They made it a no-fly zone, and then they just started bombing Libya. They had no way to fight themselves. They had nowhere to fight back. They had no defense. And they brought in 250,000 mercenaries that started killing the people and threatening the people and stealing their homes. Just a nightmare.
This rally was an amazing thing. Can you imagine 2 million people? Green Square was a big place. The square itself was the size of probably 3 football fields, but it had, I don't know, 8 or 9 roads that led into it.
Like an octopus.
All those were filled with cars and people as far as your eye could see. And in our videos, you'll see a short video with us inside the control truck that has a bunch of screens that are showing, and it was a huge, massive event. For us to get through this crowd to the truck probably took us an hour.
Yeah, those are the green flags of the Jamahiriya, the government that was set up by Gaddafi and his people to share the assets of Libya with the people, gave them their life, gave them their land. They'd never been allowed to own any land under any occupiers. They were basically the slaves of everybody, including Italy, who had occupied them. And the first thing he did was give all the people who worked on the land.
Wow.
And they had free medical, free everything. But it comes out later, and kind of an understanding that came to us was the United States or the Khazarian, the bankers, they began to attack Gaddafi very early in his career as a liar, as a terrorist, all this other stuff, all lies, because he hated terrorism, because his program, his Jamahiriya, was sharing with the people the country's wealth, and they couldn't have this. They could not have this. They couldn't have it work. So that was one of the main targets that they began on him. That's why.
Well, it's all very interesting, particularly in the context of what's going on around the world now and in the United States. You know, in just under 20 minutes, we're going to be starting our subscriber-only video on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty and patreon.com/crowdsource the truth. So now is a really good time for people to be going over to Jimmy and JoAnne's Patreon page, sign up, sponsor Jimmy and JoAnne. It's extremely difficult for people who come forward with this type of information to keep themselves financially forget about independent. Just even staying alive becomes difficult because, as Jimmy and JoAnne have told us many times, they've been soft killed, their bank accounts have been closed, and likewise, I can't say that I've met the same resistance, but certainly running Crowdsource the Truth is an ongoing struggle. There are a lot of people out there who are doing essentially the same exact things that you are describing as far as what happened to Gaddafi. There seems to be a pretty standard playbook where whoever it is that they don't like, they want you to think is lying and you shouldn't support them, and they want to make up all kinds of crazy stories. So I was really pleased, Jimmy, that you brought up the Architects and Engineers for 9/11 Truth and the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 Inquiry, the event I was at earlier today. I couldn't be at events like that if it wasn't for the generous Patreon sponsors that are watching Crowdsource the Truth and watching our show here. So if anyone feels that they don't want to sponsor Jimmy and JoAnne, or perhaps they're not in the financial position to do that, you can also help spread this word by giving this video a thumbs up, liking it, sharing it, telling other people about it. Jimmy and JoAnne have shared firsthand information of their years spent in Libya, as well as photographs and videos that they took. No one paid them to be there. They weren't, working for some secret agency. They're not anything. CIA or anything like that, which we've heard so many stories from people who are. You guys have spoken many times about Claire Lopez, who has shared information on the news or wherever it is that she's been sharing it that seems to be very inaccurate compared to what you guys saw there on the ground. And of course, General Michael Flynn described the information that Jimmy and JoAnne have obtained as the best human intelligence the United States has ever obtained on Libya. So we're relearning a lot of things that have been ingrained in our minds, and I think it's so important now because, Jimmy, you said these false flag operations, you know, we see them happening all the time. In another subscriber-only video, I was joined by experts including Ole Damagard, Cody Snodgrass, and Scott Bennett, and we went through the video evidence of the New Zealand, the Christchurch shooting. Now, I don't like to draw universal conclusions from individual pieces of evidence, but there are a number of things in that video evidence that indicate that the video was staged. There are things that happen in the video that don't seem consistent with reality, and that's not to say that people weren't killed. That's not what a false flag is about. A false flag is about conducting some sort of deadly or destructive operation and then using fake evidence to push people who might be investigating the facts away to sell a false story and blame it on somebody else, like saying Gaddafi is a terrorist and therefore we have to attack him. It's to foment hatred for someone who is the enemy of the person doing the attack. So this is as relevant now as it has ever been, if not more so. In fact, I think a strong argument could be made that this entire Robert Mueller investigation into Russian interference was a false flag.
Yes, it was.
Sure it was.
So we'll be back in just a few minutes on patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty and patreon.com/Crowdsource the Truth. You can also see the show on subscribestar.com/Crowdsource the Truth. So join us there. Jimmy and JoAnne are going to be sharing some exclusive videos. These haven't been shown anywhere before, have they, guys?
No.
All right, so our subscribers will be getting really important information, and we're not trying to hold this back, but people need to understand that when these videos go out on YouTube, the YouTube channels get taken down, the videos get wiped away. So we're trying to build out a network here that's going to allow people to access information that they want to see, and please help us do that. Jimmy, JoAnne, I'll see you in just a few minutes over at patreon.com/James and JoAnne Moriarty and patreon.com/Crowdsource the Truth. Thank you, guys. I'll see you there.
Thank you, Jason.